Welcome to A Pinch of Basile, bringing the most entertaining guests, news stories, and with just a touch of comedy. Now here's everyone's favorite Greek, Basil.
Hey, everyone, this is a Pinch of Basile podcast. We're doing something a little. We've had some technical difficulties ever since that stupid hurricane, Flo. I'm telling you what, I am not buying insurance from any chick named Flo again. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, I'm here with my favorite co-host in the whole wide world, Janice Hermsman, I should say. Janice, how are you, sweetheart? I hope you're well.
I am doing much better than you are, I can tell you right now.
Well, it's a cluster. You know, what can I tell you? You know, Flo has destroyed my life for almost a week and a half now, and 10 days. And, you know, this hurricane stuff is not fun at all. I'll be honest with you.
I would have moved.
Yeah, well, yeah. You know, it's tough to leave homes and beach houses and offices and all that and just, you know, leave it. But you do the best that you can with it and move on. How are you doing, my sweetheart?
Well, you know, I'm glad I'm not in a hurricane, and
Yes.
we are finally experiencing here in the Reno, Nevada area a little bit calmer, cooler weather. Still warm, but not like it was, so kind of pleasant. Can roll my windows down when I'm driving. I like that.
Yeah, that's nothing like that, man. Wind blowing through your hair, or in my case, the Brillo that's on top of my head.
There you go. But it works. It doesn't matter. It still feels good.
It works great. It really does.
Right.
I'll tell you what. It's one of those things that kind of just makes you smile and laugh a little bit. With you know, especially traveling around now. I mean, it's getting a little bit cooler here too. Thank goodness, because there are people still, believe it or not, without power. And have been without power for nearly 10 days. And it's terrible. It is simply terrible.
Now, you didn't have any of that happen to you, right?
Actually, we lost power for about 36 hours, yeah.
Oh, okay, so you did, yeah.
36 hours was horrific. But it was sad to be able, you know, to see some of that. And then unfortunately, they're finding you know, dead bodies here and there for people who didn't make it. And, you know, it's one of the sad things is, I got to be quite honest with you. I think one of the toughest things is people did not want to leave their homes because they were afraid of being robbed. And I understand that completely. And I'm a Second Amendment guy, believe in my weapons, believe in my guns. And I got to tell you, you know, I understand, but I think what the police need to do, and anyone who owns a home, if you feel that you're being threatened, if you feel that someone's breaking in your house and you don't know what this person is going to do, you know they already did one wrong thing, they broke into your house, then I say you have the right to defend yourselves any way possible.
Right.
Because I do not care. You have no idea what this person is thinking. And there are going to be people. And you may think differently, Janice, and I'm not going to, you know, everyone.
No, I'm willing to share. I agree with you. I think that you have to be able to defend yourself.
Absolutely. You know, and I'm probably one of those right-wing comedians you always hear about. Well, you never hear about. Anyway, and, you know, the sad thing is basically you need to go ahead and go through the garbage of you know, filling out reports. Well, you know, it's your fault. You killed this person coming into your home. Why was he in my home? Right. I feared for my life. And, you know, I have no problem. And I think they need to have harsh, and I do mean extremely harsh, repercussions.
Right.
You know, for someone who says, well, he was only 16, he was only 17, he didn't know any better. Now, you know what? He should have. He really should have.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the issue is that the laws are convoluted, they're different everywhere. It just makes it tough, you know. You go from one state to the other, you don't know what the gun laws are. You have to look it all up.
Oh, yeah. And who's got
I have relatives who own guns, so I know, you know, what they've gone through. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, the first thing that I wound up doing, to be quite honest with you, is I actually immediately ran like an idiot to try to go ahead and make sure that all my weapons were oiled up, ready to go, that I had ammunition, because I want to definitely protect everything that was mine. And, that was just crazy. But listen, right now, folks, I just want to say a couple of things. You're listening to the Pinch of Basile podcast with your host, Basil, and, of course, my co-host, Janice Hermsman. And you're listening on, and if you want to find out more about this, please go to americamatters.com. What is it? .au?
.us.
.us.
There you go.
Because I'm an idiot.
You're not an AU. You're an US, buddy.
You'd think
Come
I'm in
on.
Australia, for God's sake.
I know you're heading there, but no.
Yeah. And can people call in, Janice?
They can. They can call in to 844-790-8255. They can also text us. If they don't mind texting to a 775 number, it's 775-237-2266.
And we're going to wind up actually going back. It seems that we have some of the technical difficulties settled. So while we're on break real quick, we're going to go ahead and do that. But, hey, folks, for those of you who always want to find out, I'm going to be in Chicago, believe it or not, Chi-Town. Go check my website at basilelive.com. That's BASILELIVE.com. Find out all my dates and everything. I'm so excited about going back to Chi-Town, and I'll give you more information about that as well. And then, listen, we got a fantastic guest. Floyd Sneed, the original, and I'm talking the original drummer of the Three Dog Night, will be with us. And so I want you guys at the bottom of the hour to come join us. So we're going to put it back on my Facebook as well. So make sure that you guys listen up. We're going to put it live. And then we're going to have, I think, all of our technical difficulties will be taken care of, believe it or not, hopefully by next week or the week after, so we can bring you something really kind of different.
Optimistic, mister.
Yeah, well, listen, it better. That's all I got to say. It better. Anyway, but I want to let you all listening right now. You are listening to the Pinch of Basile podcast right now live, and make sure that you keep on listening to us. I'm really excited about this. We're going to be right back. We got to take care of these things called sponsors and their little commercial things, so stick around. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is America Matters Media
on AM 1180 KCKQ,
a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Hey everybody, it's Basil. I am back one more time for a Pinch of Basile podcast, and we are going through a lot of stuff here right now. I got to be honest with you. I got more technical issues than God knows what. I mean, this is probably one of the craziest things, besides not having electricity because of Flo. Thank you, Flo. Florence, Hurricane Florence, I'll tell you what, I've dated women like this, and I really rather not go into it, to be quite honest with you, this whole thing, I got to be honest with you, Janice. I have received some notes and everything that we discussed, and I got to tell you, I'm laughing my butt off. And I'm sitting there laughing with this because you said you probably know how storms are given short, distinctive names, right, to avoid confusion. Yeah, like Florence is a short, Flo. Just say Flo. Flo. That's right. Or the bitch, as I like to refer to her. Okay.
Yeah. But progressive's not going to like you much for that.
Yeah, probably much. And it's okay. I got no problem with that. Listen. But it's kind of funny because you always wonder how do you get these human names for these hurricanes, and I started laughing. You sent me this, and I started giggling about this. Only a meteorologist can actually sit there, and he wanted to poke fun at people. Is that true, Florence? Florence. Janice?
I can change my name. It's okay.
No, you can't. You are a sweetheart. Trust me.
Well, I did try to find out how true this story is, and it seems to be the way it really was. I think this particular story that I gave you is a little bit tainted in that I think that they made up some of the stuff. But you want me to share?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So some of the people felt that, well, first of all, he started out doing Greek god names. This Australian meteorologist named Clement Wragg, of all names, and it's with a W-R. But, talk about names, right? This dude had a good name. So he started the tradition of giving names to weather systems, but they weren't quite as systematic as they are today. He just named the storms after anything that just jumped into his head, I guess. How many creative meteorologists do you know? I just don't know that many creative.
Well, and evidently, the guy actually, he's from Australia. A lot of Greeks are in Australia. He used Greek gods. I'm surprised there has yet to been a Hurricane Basile. It's a huge hurricane, loud as hell, a lot of hot air.
There you go.
Okay, got to have a lot of hot air, spinning all over the place, sweating a lot. Okay, that's all I'm going to say, sweating a lot. But there's never been, I don't think there's ever been, has there ever been a Hurricane Basile?
I don't recall there ever being a Hurricane Basile. I just don't think they did Basile.
Basile?
That's what
Really?
That's what Siri calls you. When I try to call you, she says, I say, call Basil, and she says, calling Basile.
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's fine.
No, it's, the E at the end screws it up for everyone.
That's right. That's right.
That's all I'm saying.
Yep. So anyhow, he did the Greek god thing, but ran out of names, right?
Mm.
So then people felt that he had too high an opinion of himself, and some of the politicians were kind of making fun, jabbing at him and such, right? Mm. And as revenge, he named cyclones after them. How about that? I think that's the part that might be a little bit, somebody's making this up. At any rate, so he named storms after Edmund Barton and Alfred Deakin. I suppose if you're from Australia, you probably know the first two prime ministers of Australia. Mm-hmm. Purely so he could send out reports saying that Edmund Barton was wandering aimless about the Pacific and causing great distress. I love that. We could say that about some of our politicians, right?
Yeah, to say the least.
On both sides. Doesn't matter which side you're on, you would say that about them.
No, I think the funny thing is, I mean, if we had like a Hurricane Trump,
oh my.
Full of hot air and
there you go.
Bad hair. Really bad hair.
Yep. He just wanted everyone else to look like him, right?
He really did. He goes, I'll teach you sons of... All right, here we go.
That's right.
This is what we look like after my hurricane.
There you have it. There you have it.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but so basically he started doing... Did he ever get in trouble for this?
I don't think so. I don't think that anybody really called him on it, but... they said that, hurricanes got human names because a bitter, angry Australian man thought it would be funny.
I love my Australian fans. I got to tell you, my Australian fans are they're unbelievable.
They're awesome.
And, I don't know if you knew this or not. I will be in Australia. We're going to have to do this podcast from Australia.
Yes.
So I'm very, very excited about that.
And when are you going to be there? Let me ask the obvious question.
Yeah, I got to leave. I'm going to leave the 31st of October. And the 29th my time, but I get there the 31st their time, and flying halfway around the world, and we're doing some filming over there for a special that I'm really excited about. I want to apologize to the people of Erie, Pennsylvania, because I had to cancel out of that gig to do because they wanted to film something special. So it was something that I needed to do for my career. So I'm kind of excited about it.
You have a career?
Yeah, I know. Hard to believe. That's what my wife asks all the time.
I must have been channeling her.
Yeah, evidently I'm married to you too. Okay, and why isn't there a Hurricane Kula to this day? I have no idea.
Oh boy.
Oh my God! But yeah, I'll tell you what. And why mostly? It's named after men, isn't it? Or rather, after women. The hurricanes.
Say it again. I missed that.
Isn't most of the hurricanes named after women?
Well,
except for Floyd. Floyd was out there. He was pretty bad. I say, funny thing is, Floyd Sneed is with us at the bottom.
I know. I was wondering why you picked that one, right?
Oh my God! No,
yes.
It's kind of funny because every time we see, some of the guys from the Weather Channel, it just kills us when they come here.
I'm sure.
Oh, my God.
Hey, did you see that one podcast or that one video that got, I don't know how many millions of views because the guy was acting like the wind was blowing real hard, you know, the typical meteorologist guy out there doing his thing. And then there's two guys behind him just
walking normal as day.
Yep. That's right.
All right, guys.
That was great.
Your crack research department found out how they do naming of hurricanes.
We have a crack research department. Did you know that, Basil?
NOAA, National Atmospheric Oceanic Administration, does not control the naming of the tropical storms.
And that's our engineer.
Yeah. Instead, there's a strict procedure established by the World Meteorological Organization for Atlantic hurricanes. There is a list of male and female names which are used on a 6-year rotation. So in theory, we could have another Katrina.
There you go.
First of all, coming from a drunk who's running the board, and
we're wondering why we have technical difficulties.
Yeah, 5 or 6 hours of hiccups right now.
Poor Craig had surgery yesterday, so we have to excuse him a little.
Okay, that's fine. You're excused. Yeah,
there
Foster
you go.
Brooks is with us, ladies and gentlemen. Foster Brooks, he will be going, making sure that we get formally killed at the next Dean Martin roast that'll be available to us. Oh,
tip your Lyft driver.
Oh my God,
that's right. I just heard him hiccup again.
Oh, jeez.
She heard me through the window that's closed.
It's so loud. And I swear I'm drinking water. It's not vodka.
It's so sad, but it's actually true. I mean, some of the stuff, and you know, listen, and there's a professor. Did you hear this? Who thinks he could stop a hurricane by flying jets into them?
I love this story.
Did you hear this?
Yes.
Did you hear? This is the news. Did you hear this? I just got a chance to read this right now.
Yep.
All right. So are we talking like New York Jets? Because that team can really fly through the air and do nothing.
I think he should be talking about the New York Jets, don't you think?
I think
so his plan is to fly 2 supersonic jets directly into the eye of the storm.
And the jets will start circling around, they said.
Yep, around the eye of the hurricane. Now, who's manning these jets is what I want to know. Who's in them?
And they're flying the opposite direction of the wind tunnel of the jets to slow down the wind,
Yeah.
Wow.
This makes sense, right?
Yeah, this works. I can see it. Here you have something the size of a pin needle, the end of the pin, and basically you are throwing it at something the size of a Cadillac.
Right. And then he says he can't get the math to prove his idea will work. Excuse me. If the math doesn't work, we're not doing it. But he has a strong hunch.
It ain't happening.
Gosh, I've got a hunch. Let's see. What do I have a hunch about that we could do?
Let's see. Let me see. Basil can pick up any chick in the world. Yeah, that's a hunch. That can happen. I'm gonna fly my jet to their place, and okay, I'm done there.
Did you say chick or chicken?
Listen, I don't complain about the chicks you're with. Okay, all right. Oh my God, I'm laying an egg. Here we go. Anyway,
me too.
And then someone wants to nuke the hurricanes. Is that?
Yes.
Thing?
Yeah. I'm not looking at that. Oh, there it is. Then there are those who write to the government and tell them to nuke the hurricane. I guess they get several letters every year from civilians begging them to nuke a hurricane.
Yeah, spread that radiation all over the world.
I swear. What are people thinking?
I don't know, man. That's actually.
I mean, you go into X-ray and you put on a big old thing, right? I mean, what are we all going to be wearing protective gear for the next 20 years?
Absolutely. I think protective gear would look beautiful, on me.
If dads had worn protective gear, they wouldn't be dads, and we wouldn't have half these problems.
There you go.
You got that right. Oh my God! Well, listen, folks.
You men.
This news has been actually very interesting. To be quite honest with you. But stay tuned for us. More of a Pinch of Basile podcast. We're hoping to have all our technical issues taken care of very, 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 very soon. But you are listening to a Pinch of Basile podcast with Janet Hermsen and myself, and of course Craig the Wonder Boy. We're going to be right back and pay some of those bills. We'll talk to you in a sec.
To find out what's hot and happening, join Lady J for Smooth Jazz Tune-Up.
Join me Saturdays, 10 to noon, here on America Matters.
Basile, and we are back on the Pinch of Basile podcast. You are listening to your host, Extraordinaire Basile, with Janice Hermsman and, of course, Chuck the Wonder Boy, who is...
How about Craig?
Oh, yeah.
Who's got the Percocet? I think Chuck. It might be you.
Well, listen, he's doing Percocet. It's Chuck right now. He's going to say, no, I heard Craig. So... I want you to get better, brother. I know you went through a little bit of hell yourself. So all my thoughts and prayers are with you and your family and taking care of yourself, brother.
And Craig, if anyone wants to see the video of my surgery, it's on my Facebook page.
Only you, and Craig. Only you.
That will be for the Craig show. Okay. Right now, this is the Basile show. We'll be doing surgeries. We'll be showing my surgeries.
Oh, my goodness.
And then it'll be brain surgery.
Yeah, if I had a brain. If I only had a brain. Oh, my God. Well, listen, I'm really, really excited. Bottom of the hour here, and this next gentleman, I got to read this because 1968 Canadian-born drummer Floyd Sneed signed with the Three Dog Night. Who knew Billboard magazine would have the band on top? And oh my God, on the top 100 less than a year later. Wow, that's unbelievable. As one of the first black drummers and otherwise an all-white band, Floyd met resistance from some people who resented him because he was black. Are you serious, man? Who's got rhythm, for God's sakes?
That's
At the same time, that'd be Floyd. Three Dog Night would be charting along with the Beatles, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Marvin Gaye, Elvis Presley, and many, many more in the rock and roll world. The band has its ups and downs, of course, like most bands, and Floyd ended up leaving the band in the 80s. He began painting, and by the way, Floyd, beautiful paintings. We got to talk about that in a second.
I have a lot of new ones. A lot of new paintings that are going to be up on my website pretty soon.
Oh, fantastic. But let me finish your intro because you need this intro, okay? I want people to know who the hell you are if they don't already. I got some of my fans already on Facebook who are listening to this, and they're going, put him on. He's continued off tour with other bands and his own restaurant. And, in Santa Monica, I got to go there. And now he lives in Idaho, where he plays drums and paints and enjoys life, basically. I'm happy to welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pinch of Basile podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Floyd Sneed. Floyd, welcome to the show, brother.
Technicolor or not?
Say that again.
Is the show in Technicolor?
Yes, it is in Technicolor. You can't tell? Every podcast of mine is Technicolor.
Oh, radio.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. You got to have imagination to play in this game.
That's right. Very good.
Floyd, so nice to have you, man. So nice to have you. When I heard that we were getting you, I got very, very excited. And, can I ask you the first question? Because I don't know this answer. How the hell did y'all come up with the name Three Dog Night?
Oh, I'll tell you. Okay, before we had the name, obviously, we were in the office discussing what we should call a band. And let's see now. Somebody was saying something about dogs, and I suggested, well, how about a Three Dog Night? Australian name. It's from Australia. The Aborigines have customs of sleeping with dogs on cold nights, like the Eskimos also. So a Three Dog Night is a pretty chilly evening.
Yeah, because you need 3 dogs. With my fat ass, I need 5. So good thing I wasn't there naming it with you.
Oh, my God. Well, that means you'd be kind of warm with a fat ass, so.
Yeah. Say the least. Oh, my God. I mean, do you have any favorite stories from the time you spent working with the Three Dog Night?
Oh, let me see stories. There's so many.
I'm sure. And, it's not fair because I used to have a cousin named Jimmy Swingos who had the hotel in Cleveland called Swingos. Okay. And just about every rock and roll star that there was went to Swingos Hotel in Cleveland when they played Cleveland. And the stories I heard from Jimmy alone, I mean, everything from Zeppelin to Stones. And I don't know if you guys ever stayed there or not.
I don't think so. I can't remember the name, but who knows, back in those days, we stayed in so many hotels, I really probably forgotten half of them.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. So tell me what's one of your favorite stories that's probably one of the funniest that you remember that still sticks out in your mind.
Okay, let me think of something. Oh, my goodness. Right off the top of my head, I can't even think of a story. Well, let me tell you something. When I first joined the band, one of the members of the band didn't want me in the band because I was black and cross-eyed. I thought that was very funny. I really did. I thought that was very funny. But I got my cross-eye fixed since then, so everything is straightened out.
Yeah, well, which is great because you can't keep playing cymbals all the time.
That's right. Yes. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, now tell me where are you from originally?
I'm from, grew up in Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, and, Calgary, Alberta. That's where I grew up in, basically Alberta, but my parents were in a farming area up northeast of Edmonton, Alberta. That's north of Calgary, 300 miles. So I was moved to the city when we were just babies, 3 years old, moved to the city. So that's my experience there.
Now, did you guys? I mean, being a black man, did you guys? Was there any racism up there in Canada, as there was maybe perhaps down in the United States?
No, not really. I never experienced it. And if I did, I didn't just threw it off. Basically, a few times it got to me, but no big deal. No big deal.
Which is
I learned
great.
to work with things.
Well, the thing is, it's so sad. I remember coming down here I make my home in North Carolina. In the beginning, I'm a 6'2", big curly hair, dark, swarthy looking guy myself. And sometimes, I got to go with swarthy. Okay. I'm Greek, for God's sake. I'm not white. Okay. I'm Greek. There's a big difference. Okay.
I love feta cheese. That's Greek.
Yeah. What did you say? You love feta cheese?
I love feta.
Oh, man, you're halfway there. Floyd, you're halfway there, man. Next thing you know, you're going to be eating tzatziki sauce, and the whole thing's going to go to hell right there.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, let me ask you a couple of questions, man, because I think it's important. Did you learn anything in your particular experiences while you were with the band? I mean, what was some of the more difficult? I mean, you're dealing with a band, you're touring all over. I know that bands really don't. They really sometimes they have a hard time even liking each other after a while when they're on tour.
That's true,
too. Was there anything in particular that you couldn't stand that maybe a Chuck, Negron did to you, or some of the other cats that you guys were involved in?
Well, I'll tell you what, when Chuck was a junkie back in the early days, he's been cleaned up for over 20 years now, but that was really, really tough. Like 20 minutes before a show, Joe Sherman and myself would be trying to wake Chuck up from his stupors, and that was really tough when he wasn't ready for the show. We had to put up with a lot of drug things back in those days, but
right.
On overall, it was wonderful, and it still is,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
You guys have a good relationship with each other?
Yes, we sure do. I'm going to Chuck's this weekend. When I go to L.A., I'm staying with Chuck for a while,
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, he's turned over a new leaf, basically, so that's good. He's down to earth right now, and things are really good with him.
He's been playing a lot of different gigs, yes?
Not a lot lately that I don't know about, but last time I worked with Chuck was about almost a year and a half ago now.
Yeah, I think he just got off the Happy Together tour not too long ago.
Happy Together tour,
yeah.
That's right. That's he's still doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's out there right now, but yeah, that's what he's been doing.
That's very cool. How'd the two of you meet?
Through Three Dog Night, when I joined the band, they were in the office, and when Joe Shermy, the original bass player, basically got me into the band. He found me, Joe Shermy, and then I met the band,
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
And when Joe Shermy met you, he thought you were two drummers, didn't he?
That's right. I was working at the Red Velvet in Hollywood, and Joe Shermy was saying he was walking by, going to get some McDonald's hamburgers for $4 back in those days.
Wow.
$5, I guess. And he walked by this club, the Red Velvet, and heard this drummer in there and said, wow, the Three Dog Night, we're looking for a drummer at that time. Anyway, Joe came in and liked my drumming and told me what's going on and would I be interested in possibly joining this band. So the next night, a couple of the other guys come down, a couple of the singers, and everybody liked my drumming. So decided to went into the office a couple of days later, and we all signed and started.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, who basically inspired you when you first started as a musician? And what were your influences?
All the old drummers like the Gene Kruppers and the Buddy Riches and Sonny Payne, jazz drummers, and I listen to a lot of big jazz drumming. And I've listened to Ringo Starr and John Bonham of Led Zeppelin. I listened to everybody and picked up this and that from a little bit from everybody,
Well, especially John Bonham. I mean, I think John Bonham to me was one of the craziest that ever. There's a gentleman who we're going to have on our show, Hawksley, Michael Hawksley. He's going to come on. He was their road manager for a while. He makes his home in Wilmington, North Carolina, the Hawk, and English character, and he has some fantastic stories about him as well. How clean of a drummer was Ringo Starr?
He was great for the Beatles. Absolutely great for the Beatles. Otherwise, he's just. All I can say was great for the Beatles.
You're so diplomatic, Floyd.
Thank you, Dan. But I picked up a little bit from everybody. For instance, what's that song on Sgt. Pepper? But one of the songs I can't even. What's the name of that song?
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band? Is that what you're talking about?
What is it?
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club
Band. Yeah, that's not the song, though. It's on that album. I'm trying to think of the song.
I don't know that.
Yellow Submarine.
No. Oh, my goodness.
We can name them all, right?
Once upon. I have a little dementia now, so it takes me a couple of minutes to recall something.
Well, in the middle of my next question, you can answer that.
Okay, thanks. Oh, goodness.
I got to make this one last question for this segment a little bit short and give me a short answer. What would you tell a drummer who's just starting out? I mean, what's the advice that you would give him?
I tell him to learn to keep time first. Without that was still my problem a little bit. I don't keep perfect time, but that's okay because the way I played, if I got excited, the music got exciting. So just basically, like I'm self-taught, and so I just practice, got my timing down, and where I can do this and that without thinking about it.
That's great.
It worked out for me,
Well, I'll tell you what, it worked out for you great. We're going to be right back with Floyd Sneed after a few of these messages. You're listening to the Pinch of Basile.
This is America Matters Media
on AM 1180 KCKQ,
a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Hey everyone, it's Basil. That's right, Basil from a Pinch of Basile podcast. I'm here with my guest Floyd Sneed and my co-host Janice Hersman, and of course my engineer Nick. Anyway,
I like that name.
I like that name too.
Yeah, Big Nick.
Or changing your name, Craig.
Just don't call me late for dinner because that'll never happen.
Okay, that's it. I'm done. Oh, my God. A lot of people, Floyd, don't really know unless they really follow you and everything, know about your art that you do. Mm-hmm. And I got to be honest with you. I was really impressed. Now, my eldest daughter, is a great artist, and I've always been impressed with her work. But I got to tell you, I showed her some of the stuff that you did, and she's go, wow. This is really great. And, when did you begin to paint?
Well, when I had got arthritis, maybe I'll say 15 years ago, something like that, where I had to just take it easy on the drums and everything. And I got bored, and so I used to doodle around in school a lot, drawing instead of doing my work. So I just developed my little style of my own, and, I sell a few now and then, and I got so many done that I got to have a show somewhere very soon. Mm-hmm. Music, wine, and art show somewhere, maybe possibly in Spokane area somewhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got a little trio set up to play music and have some wine and look at my art and buy stuff, so that's going to happen soon.
You let us know when that does happen. I'd love to plug that for you. I really would, because I really enjoy the stuff that I looked at. What inspires you? I mean, what really drives you when you're being creative as far as your painting when you do that? For
yeah, well, I'm just driving myself to keep things moving in my life. I just can't. I really miss the road playing with Three Dog Night. To tell them the truth, but. That's okay. I'm 75 years old now, and I'm still playing. I play at church every Sunday for the last 4 years, probably. So my playing is really on top of it. So I'm proud of myself, or I still can play, But I work with Chuck Negron once in a while. Last time was almost 2 years ago, a year and a half, something like that. But
right.
That's okay.
No, I think that's very, very cool. I mean, I always, for me, I always want to know what inspires someone. When I wrote a joke, it's usually on the toilet. So, I need something with inspiration.
That's
and I want to hear other
my artwork on the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people say, your artwork looks like shit. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said, well, what do you expect? Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And we mean that in the nicest way possible for all my listeners out there. So what I wanted to is actually when you get that inspiration, you do something. Some of the best stuff I get. I don't know about you, but when I wake up in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah.
And there are times, and I now have my phone with me, and I have it on the area where you can just press a thing for it to record, and it's always on there because I come up with a great idea when I'm asleep, or I think something's funny, and I get up. Because have you ever seen your writing when you wake up from your sleep? It's hieroglyphics. Only the Egyptians can read. The ancient Egyptians can read what I wrote. Something about the pharaoh and whatever. But when you do that, do you ever get ideas when you just wake up in a dead of sleep and just say, "Oh my God, this would be a great painting"?
Well, when I sleep, I think of a lot of things of what I could paint. It comes to you. Once I get going, I really don't know how it's gonna turn out. I just keep working on what I have on the canvas and let it develop itself, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm just working on a painting almost as we speak upstairs. So another frog.
Another frog. Oh.
Yeah, Chuck bought 2 frogs from Joy of the World frog.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Mine was a bullfrog. So
yeah. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you work in, for people who understand painting, which is not me, but my sister loves to do this stuff. And you work in acrylics, you do graphic markers, you do pastels. You work in all sorts of different things.
Yes, I do. Oil pastels and acrylics and pen and ink and,
Yeah, you're very versatile. I think that's admirable.
Well, thank you, Jan. Thank you.
And, I don't know if you ever heard of some of my paintings. Well, it's really a la Crayola. Okay. And the way, I don't know about you, Floyd, but the way I stay within the lines when I color.
Oh, okay.
No one is like me. Art by Basile.
I go outside the lines myself. So.
Have your other band members besides Chuck? I mean, what do they think about your painting? Have they gotten a hold of you and talked to you about it?
Not really. Out of sight, out of mind, so to speak.
Yeah.
But not really. No. Chuck's the only one who really seen my paintings and let me know about them. So he has 3 of my paintings now. So.
Did you ever think about some of the when you did some of the gigs back in the day? Have you ever tried to put that on canvas?
For instance, what are you speaking of? Put what on canvas?
Well, to actually put some of the memories when you guys were gigging someplace or wherever that you wanted to, a lot of times artists will do things as far as depicting a situation that they were in back in the day.
So like looking out at the crowd or something like that.
Yeah, maybe, yes. I've got a couple of things that basically I got from ideas that I use audiences in my paintings, or I think of crowds like that.
Floyd, you've got a couple of pictures that we have for the book that could really inspire you, I think, that show you out there in the crowd and, out there looking out at the crowd. So I'll make sure you get a copy of those.
Oh, thanks, Jan. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, we've been talking.
And then you're going to have to give credit to Basile for the idea, right?
Thank you, Basile. Yeah.
Listen, man, I take a 15% vig. So anytime you're ready.
I thought it was 10%. 10%.
Oh, he's already beaten you up.
Oh, boy.
Listen, you're lucky to have me. That's all I'm saying right now. All right, you're lucky to have me.
Oh, very good.
I can't sell my own ass, let alone sell other people's paintings. Jesus. Listen, we've been talking about the paintings. We've been talking about your artwork and everything. Chuck, is there a website where people can go to if they maybe have questions, see some of your artwork, maybe even make purchases? What's your website?
FloydSneedArt.com.
FloydSneedArt.com.
There you go. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That is exactly right.
I'm going to have it updated pretty soon. The art that's on there now that's pretty old. Some of my early stuff I've improved a little bit in the last couple of years. But,
And I don't know that it's necessarily improved as much as it is that artists change, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then if you want to go to his Facebook page, you can go to, it is at official Floyd Sneed page on Facebook.
Thank you.
So there you go.
Thanks,
You're welcome. You can go there. You can see things that are happening. I know that Chuck Negron sometimes even posts on there and shares a lot of the things that were happening and some of the things that are happening. There's a video on there of you, Floyd, and so check it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for the audience that's listening right now, again on America Matters, because you're listening to a Pinch of Basile podcast. Having someone like Floyd up there who has the experience of actually being part of the Three Dog Night and having his artistic, and I mean this with all sincerity, the artistic approach of playing an instrument like the drums, and all of a sudden taking those, those wacky drumsticks and putting brushes into those hands of yours, those blessed hands of yours, to go ahead and creating something like that. I always tell people stuff like that to me is magic.
Yep.
It's simple
thank you very
magic.
much.
No, and I mean that with all sincerity. Sometimes, look, I do the jokes, but I love writing drama, high drama.
Okay.
I love doing something that's a little bit different. I love when people will take the same old, and all of a sudden switch things around. And you now, instead of having drumsticks in your hand, you now have paintbrushes in your hand. And you're creating art.
Yeah, I like that term, yes.
You are accentuating your talent.
I'll give you a good deal on something.
Yeah. Again, all checks made out to Basil. Your 15% VIG goes straight to me. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
There you
go. That's right.
Oh my God, Floyd! Before we go off, man, I want to tell you just what a wonderful guest you've been. And I got to tell you, I hope we can have you back again, because I'll tell you what, you are magnificent, and I love your artwork. I love your history, and you played for one of the most iconic rock and roll bands in the world, and to be able to have you on our show is just an unbelievable. Truly an unbelievable experience for me and for my listeners.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you guys.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate that. Anything to get out of that 15%. I know, Floyd. Okay. So anyway, for all of you who are listening, this is Floyd. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll be definitely getting a hold of you again. Again, Floyd Sneed. Art.com. Check out his art. Check out who this magnificent talent is, and and tell Chuck I said hello as well.
I shall. Thank you very much. We'll do this again soon.
Yes, we will.
Absolutely. You got it for sure. You got it for sure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. We're closing up a Pinch of Basile podcast. We're just very, very close to taking care of all of our issues with our technical issues. I promise you, many of you who have been on Facebook with the Facebook Live app, I want to apologize to you that you couldn't hear it, because Floyd was a fantastic guest. And I want all of you to go ahead to next time, make sure you go to americamatters.us. Check out what's going on with us. I will see you guys in Chicago. Go to my website, basillive.com. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Basile Fans, BASILE FANS. You are listening to a Pinch of Basile podcast. I'll talk to you all later on. Peace.